What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Benchwarmer Sports. Hopefully, you guys are having a terrific day today. And in this video, I just want to do a little bit of a discussion type video with you guys. We're going to be going over what should be the expectations for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season, because I have been seeing a lot of different people on social media talking about what we should be expecting from the Cleveland Browns. And I have seen a couple of people talking a little bit about incrementalism. You know, just if the Browns and Deshaun Watson are at least a little bit better than last year, that's a successful season. I disagree with that take wholeheartedly. But in this video, I just wanted to give you guys what I am expecting from the Cleveland Browns and what I feel like us as Browns fans in the NFL community should be expecting from the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season. Okay. But before we get into this video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for your support over the last couple of weeks. It's been absolutely outstanding. We've gotten over 600 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that. If you guys have not subscribed yet, and if you're a returning viewer or at least a new viewer, you like Cleveland sports and just sports in general, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Also, hit the like button on this video. It helps us out in the algorithm, gets more eyes on the channel. Hopefully that turns into more subscribers and more viewers. So please hit the like button in this video. Hit the subscribe button if you guys like sports content. Also, Cash App's at the bottom of the screen. That's the best way to donate to the channel for the upgrading the quality of the content here on the channel. I really want to do some interview type content here for training camp and for Browns games this upcoming season. So interviewing Browns fans before and after the games, doing some more vlogs there down at the stadium for games. I love that type of content. I know you guys like that content as well, so we're going to try and do some new things with that this upcoming season, and it's all thanks to you guys and your support. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So, Deshaun Watson, let's get started with him, okay? What should we be expecting from Deshaun Watson this upcoming season? Well, last year, I think we can all agree that Deshaun Watson did not really pan out the way that a lot of people were thinking of, because I don't think that we really gave it enough insight, or at least enough into the idea that, you know, coming off of 700 days without playing football, or at least meaningful football, was going to be as big of a hurdle to jump over, than we anticipated. And he struggled mightily in the 6 games that he played. And I honestly feel like if he got the full off season last year, didn't really have that much of off the field issues that he was dealing with, and he played the entire year last year, I honestly feel like the Browns would have been a playoff team last year. But that wasn't the case. He got suspended for 11 games, and he struggled not playing for 700 days. But, the Browns went 3-3 at that point. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people have been kind of content with the fact that, well, at least if he's better than, if he's better than last year, then that's all right with us. Unfortunately, I have to disagree with that, because the Browns did not pay Deshaun Watson to just be mildly better than what he was last year. The Browns did not trade multiple first round picks and other picks for Deshaun Watson to just be better than what he was last year. Okay, it's not feasible. It's just not feasible. Okay. So what needs to be expected from Deshaun Watson, and from what we have been told at OTAs and minicamp, is that Deshaun Watson is looking like he's getting back into his rhythm. He's getting back into the groove of things. I do not think it's a unfair expectation, or at least an unfair ask of Deshaun Watson, to expect him to play up to, if not better, than his 2020 season. And the only reason why I say that is because the Browns gave up a lot of assets to sign him and to trade for him. And we should be expecting Deshaun Watson to play better, if not, or at least close to his 2020 form, where he led the league in passing yards. He was legitimately a top 5, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And you could argue that, yeah, but he also didn't play for 700 days, last season. He's still trying to get into the rhythm of things. Okay, but this time he's had a full off season to work with his team that he hasn't really had the chance to in 3 years. He has been, consistently working on footwork, his football skills, and all that other stuff. You should be expecting Deshaun Watson to be better than last year, yes. But for what the Browns gave up to get him, you should be expecting, at least the Browns should be expecting, and fans should be expecting, and I'm expecting, Deshaun Watson has to be close to his 2020 form. And I really think that he can get to that point. The problem is that this year, I don't know if he's going to get to that point because I think it's a little bit too soon. But I'm expecting him to be that close. And I think Browns fans should be expecting him to be close to that 2020 form because we gave up too much to not see him go up to meet that 2020 level, or at least exceed that 2020 level, if you get what I'm saying. We should be expecting Deshaun Watson to be a lot better this year than he was last year. Because last year was not very good for Deshaun Watson. By Deshaun Watson's standards, by his career, it wasn't a good showing from him. I'm expecting him to be close to his 2020 level. I'm not asking him to throw for 5,000 yards, okay? I'm not expecting him to do that. If he does do that, Browns can go to the Super Bowl for all I know. But what I am saying is that fans in the Browns should be expecting him to be a top 10 quarterback at least this year. That is what the expectation should be because Deshaun Watson has showed that in the past. And again, like I said, you could say, well, he's coming off of 700 days without playing any, football games, struggled. Okay, I understand that. But he's had a full offseason to work with his team. He's gotten many new pieces on that receiving core for him. Has a lot of weapons on that offense now. It's all up to Deshaun to make it work because the pieces are there. The pieces on paper are there. But Deshaun Watson has to be that guy from 2020 in order to make this team a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And that is what I feel like Browns fans should be expecting from this team. We should be expecting to be a Super Bowl contender. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I don't think that's being overly, optimistic. The Browns on paper should be a Super Bowl contender. We have all the talent and all the skill players necessary to be a contending team for the Super Bowl. But Deshaun Watson has to be that 2020 guy. He has to be that guy. And that's what we should be expecting from Deshaun Watson. Now, if he meets that expectation, that's a whole nother discussion. But what Browns fans should be expecting, what I expect from him, Deshaun Watson has to be that 2020 guy, or at least close to that 2020 guy. Because if he is at least anywhere close to that, the Browns are Super Bowl contenders, and then this season will be a hell of a lot better than last year, okay? Now, we can talk about Nick Chubb. I expect, it's going to be a lot different than last year, at least with terms of Kevin Stefanski and what they have said. A lot of the media people who were there during OTAs and minicamps, they've been saying this offense has been rebuilt from the ground up. Like they tore it down to the studs. They've rebuilt it back up with Deshaun Watson, Alex Van Pelt, and Kevin Stefanski meeting together, putting their heads together, and describing and coming up with game plans about what Deshaun is good at and what they want to do. Okay, and they've also said from multiple reports that they're probably not going to run the ball as much and they're going to throw it more with Deshaun. So where does that leave us with Nick Chubb? I honestly think Nick Chubb can still be a 1,200-yard rusher in this new offense. I think, it's Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's going to do what he's going to do. I think he's going to average, 5.5 yards, 6 yards a carry like he always does. I think he's going to be one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the league this year. I think we should be expecting 1,200 yards. He may have less carries. It's probably going to be, a bit of a jarring experience for Browns fans because last year everybody, including myself, was just saying give Nick Chubb the rock more and more and more and more and more. Well, this season they're not going to do it. They're not going to give him the rock. They've been saying expect 12 to 15 carries for Nick Chubb. So honestly, I think Nick Chubb's probably going to get 1,200 yards. He's probably not going to win the rushing title, I don't think. But I expect Nick Chubb to have another stellar year this year. And I think Browns fans need to temper their expectations for what Nick Chubb does this year because it's going to be a lot different than what we're used to because we're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. At least that's what we've been told by Kevin Stefanski, by all the media people who've watched this offense in camp and in OTAs. So I think the expectations for Nick Chubb have to be at least a little bit subdued because I don't think he's going to be rushing for 1,500 or 1,600 yards this year. I probably would give him probably 1,200 yards this year. I think that's a perfect spot for him to be at with his new rebuilt offense. Now, another one, a new group that I really am excited to be, the expectations I think should be pretty solid, is the receiving core. The receiving core, you've added Elijah Moore, who has been showing out in camp. You've got Amari Cooper, who's, I would say, an elite wide receiver. I think he's an elite wide receiver. You've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's been having some good, things talked about him in minicamp and OTAs. Cedric Tillman, who you just drafted in the third round. David Bell, who you drafted last year in the third round. Marquise Goodwin, who's had some eye-popping catches and eye-popping, plays this minicamp. And from what has been reported, Elijah Moore has been viewed lined up in the backfield with Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, which that sounds amazing right now. That sounds absolutely amazing because that could spell maybe Elijah Moore could be utilized like a Deebo Samuel type in San Francisco, where Deebo sometimes is lined up as a running back. That is very interesting to me. But what should we be expecting from the receiving room? Well, expect a lot of yards to be thrown around between this receiving group. And I haven't even mentioned David Njoku yet and Harrison Bryant. This team is going to be very spread out, receiving-wise. You've got a lot of different pieces and parts in terms of receiving on this team. Tight end David Njoku, a bunch of other people I just mentioned. This team is going to be very spread out in terms of the receiving core because this team has been built to throw now. It's been rebuilt to throw with Deshaun Watson. And I honestly would be expecting, Amari Cooper to get over 1,000 yards. DPJ, I would say he's probably a 700, 800-yard receiving year this year. David Njoku, probably the same thing. But the Browns' offense, we should be expecting an aerial attack. We should be expecting a lot of new stuff that we haven't seen before. And we should be expecting a lot of positive yards and positive aerial attacks from this team. We're not a run and gun team anymore. At least we're not a running team anymore. That's been thrown out the window. That's been confirmed to be thrown out the window. The Browns are not a running team anymore. We're a passing team now. Deshaun Watson just needs to make the passes. Because the receiving core, from all indications, and I understand I made a video about this, but from all indications from camp, the receiving core looks really good right now. So the Browns should be expecting to be a team that beats you over the top because you got Marquise Goodwin, who's a speedster, who has shown in camp that he can beat teams over the top as a legitimate deep threat. That was what the Browns were missing last year from the receiving corps. They had nobody who was a deep threat at all. DPJ is probably your intermediate route guy. Same thing with Amari Cooper. Cedric Tillman, you're probably going to wait on him for at least another 2 years or so until somebody, is ready, until he's ready enough. I mean, I'm expecting this receiving corps to be really good this year. I'm expecting them to be really productive this year, because if they're not productive, the season's shot because this team is built for passing. It's built for passing now. That's what the offense has been built for. It's been built to pass the ball and to beat teams over the top, with Elijah Moore being the vertical threat as well, and Marquise Goodwin being a vertical threat as well. That's what the Browns did during their free agency and their draft period, was to try and get guys who can beat you over the top and be a legitimate deep threat. That's what the Browns want to do. They want to beat you over the top. And if Deshaun Watson is struggling with that, and if the receiving corps is struggling with that, the season's lost. The season is lost. I think that's what, that's the worry that I have, is that we're going to be too reliant on the passing game. But Browns fans should be expecting over-the-top aerial action with the receiving corps that we just built. Nick Chubb's not going to get the ball as much anymore. And Deshaun Watson should be that 2020 guy. If everything goes to plan, as what Browns fans should expect the Browns to be, and what we have been told to expect from the Cleveland Browns about what we should be expecting them to be this season, the Browns are a Super Bowl contender. And I haven't gotten to the defense yet. I haven't even gotten to the defense yet. Because the defense, they're going to be blitzing more. Maybe not as much as, people would like, but they're going to be blitzing more. That front line, that defensive line, is absolutely insane. I mean, it is absolutely going to be insane. I would legitimately expect Myles Garrett probably get 16, 17, maybe even 18 sacks this season. Because you got Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle. Zadarius Smith sometimes going to be lining up in the middle alongside Dalvin Tomlinson. Sometimes it's going to be at the edge, but then other times you're going to have Obo Okoronkwo on the opposite side of Myles Garrett. That front four is freaking scary. It is scary. That defensive line, if everything goes to plan, as you should be expecting, that front line of the defensive line should be one of the best units in football. That should be the expectation, because Zadarius Smith has shown he has been a Pro Bowl caliber player. Obo Okoronkwo is a really good pass rusher. And with Jim Schwartz using the wide 9 technique, which I've gone over in my introductory video about Jim Schwartz when we hired him a couple months ago, with that wide 9 technique to get them wide outside the tackles, using the defensive tackles to stuff the run and to plug holes, I mean, that front four can absolutely carry this defense, because the Browns' secondary as well, we have 3 legitimate starting corners. I mean, really, Denzel Ward's an all-pro, Pro Bowl corner. Greg Newsome, same thing. He's a Pro Bowl corner. I really do. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, in my opinion. MJ Emerson was really great for you last year. Those are 3 guys that are terrific for you. Then you also have AJ Green, also a really talented player. Then you get Juan Thornhill in the back. Grant Delpit, who started to show out at the second half of last year. The only thing I'm worried about on the defense is the linebacking unit, because they have been injured to hell and back, and we really haven't addressed them that much in the offseason. That's the only thing that I'm worried about on that defensive side of the ball, is the linebacking unit. But because the Browns are so heavily talented on that defensive line and in the secondary, you may not need them to be as good as maybe you probably needed them to be last year, because the Browns are so talented at those 2 areas on the defense. They could probably carry this team defensively. Also, I honestly want to say you should be expecting this team, this defense, to be at least a top 15 defense. I would say if they hit on all cylinders, if they come out of the gates red hot and clicking with each other, top 10 defense. Top 10. Maybe sniffing top 5. I am honestly really high on Zadarius Smith. Obo Okoronkwo, I'm really high on as well. I think that defensive line unit can really open up everything for this defense. And if we can get at least half, maybe 3/4 of what we expect from this defense, Browns are in a terrific spot. The Browns are in a terrific spot. So, in conclusion, let's run over what we should be expecting as Browns fans, all right? Deshaun Watson has to be close to the 2020 guy. Nick Chubb, at least 1,200 yards because he's in the new offense. Receiving core has to be really good because this offense has been rebuilt exclusively for passing the football. Has to be good. Defensively, the defensive line has to be really good. It's on paper one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. We should expect a lot of sacks from Myles Garrett, at least probably 18 sacks I would probably expect, because that front line is going to cause a lot of headaches for offensive lines. Secondary, keep doing what they're doing. Shut down wide receivers, limit production, all that other stuff. You have 3 starting caliber cornerbacks that could be probably number 1s or number 2s for 3/4 of the league. The Browns have all the talent. Let's end it by this. I'll end it by saying this. The Browns have all the talent to be successful. They have all the talent to be a Super Bowl team. It's now time for them to actually go out there and do it. Browns fans need to expect to be a Super Bowl contender. No more of this incremental crap. It's not. It's done. The incrementalism has to stop because you know why? Nick Chubb is not getting any younger. Myles Garrett's not getting any younger. Joel Bitonio's not getting any younger. Wyatt Teller, etc., etc., etc. They're not getting any younger, guys. The window is starting to close. It's going to start closing soon. Sooner rather than later, it's going to start closing. This is the make it or break it year, in my opinion, for the Cleveland Browns. You gave up way too much, in my opinion, for Deshaun Watson. For what you gave up for him, you need to expect greatness. Incrementalism is not going to cut it anymore. We need to expect this team to be a Super Bowl contending team. Because on paper, they are one. And that should be the expectation for every single Browns fan, and that should be the expectation for the Cleveland Browns this season. Because they have the talent to do it. And if you're seeing people in the media or online talking about, well, if the Browns just get to the playoffs, it's a successful year. No, it's not. It's not. They need to be a Super Bowl contending team because, like I said, they have all the talent to be one, and we should be expecting them to be one. No more incrementalism. It's done. That ship has long since sailed. It's time for them to actually be a contending team. And that's what we should be expecting. All right. That's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button, like I said. Gets more eyes on this channel. Hit the subscribe button if you like this type of content. I got a really, really funny video coming out here in the next couple of days. I think you guys are going to like different type of style than I usually do. But I really like it. I think you guys are going to like it too. Subscribe if you are new. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for all of your support in the recent weeks. It's 25 minutes long. I'm sorry about the long video. I probably rambled on a little bit too long there, but I apologize for taking up a lot of your time, but we're going to cut it off now. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'll talk to you guys later.